Okay. Hey, happy Tuesday. I've been waiting to see what was going to go down today in the courts at noon in DC. That was the deadline that the judge yesterday gave the uh, DOJ representing the Trump administration regarding the deportation of almost 300 people. I think it was like 260 some men over the weekend to El Salvador to be put in a prison in El Salvador where I can guarantee you they are not being treated humanely. And, El Salvador's president is that he's the cool dictator. He's bringing, what is it? Cool back to dictatorship or something. By the way, Marco Rubio, I see you. Like, enough. It's ridiculous. Marco Rubio retweeted something that president of El Salvador tweeted that was cute, like, oops, too late, regarding the judge's order on Saturday when they had an emergency hearing. And the judge said no deportations until we have more time to review this process because the administration Trump decided to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which was a wartime act. I don't know. It was an act created for wartime. We're not in war. We're not in war at war right now that we know of. Not yet, thank God. Anyway, very ancient law. Trump administration decided to use it because it's really simple to deport people because all you have to find, in this case, prove that they were Venezuelan, prove that they were non-U.S. citizens, that they were 13 years old at least, 13, and that they were allegedly related to the gang. That it is a bad, violent gang, yeah. But this isn't how you do it. We have a judicial process, and there is due process owed everyone. We don't just say you look like you're in a gang. Your social media kind of indicates it. Can you imagine too a bunch of like, you know how young people are? Gosh. And you also know, by the way, a lot of people, oh, tattoos. A lot of former gang members here still have their tattoos, but they're actually out teaching young people self respect and stay away from drugs and don't get involved in gangs and all that good stuff. So that's a whole other thing. But anyway, I'm not being very clear. On Saturday, there were 3 planes loaded up with these individuals that had been rounded up, okay, by ICE. And 2 of the planes took off. One was still on the ground when the judge issued his order. This federal judge said, no, cease any deportation. And if any deportation has already occurred, bring those planes back, turn them around and bring them back. And no other planes are to be deporting people until we have time to figure this stuff out. Okay. Well, they didn't follow that. So the planes went on and arrived in El Salvador. And even the one that was on the ground took off and went to El Salvador. And then the DOJ, on behalf of the administration, was arguing, well, it was an oral order from the judge, not a written order. Are you kidding me? You listen to a judge's order. We are a country with the rule of law, people. You respect the judge's order. You can disagree with it. You appeal it. There's a process for disagreeing with it. You don't just say, I'm going to ignore it. No. My God. People, quit giving away your power. Like, oh my God. Do you see how this is very dangerous? This could be turned against so many people. Okay. Let's pretend all those people are actually members of a gang. Okay. But you don't do it this way. You don't ship them to El Salvador to be put in a prison. This is a transactional administration, people. This is a transactional administration, and that's why things like this happen and people are disappeared, especially over the weekend, conveniently rounded up and disappeared. We don't even know all the names of the people that are missing, that are gone on those planes. And there could be some US citizens on there, by the way, because guess what? ICE has been deporting some US citizens. Anyway, let's pretend they are. Well, then we deal with it, and we Yeah, we arrest them, we give them due process, blah blah blah, and we deport them properly. But apparently, by the way, if you're a white American who is guilty of sedition, not necessarily just white, but mostly, and if you violently attacked um, Capitol Police violently, like hurting them, resulting in maiming some of them, and apparently those guys just get to go out on the streets. We don't mind those guys being out on the streets. Um, but yeah. Anyway, the judge today said, no bueno, no more deportations using this ancient act. It's not going to fly. And what does Trump do? Of course, he whines and gets on his social media. By the way, this man puts on his social media something like sometimes 200 tweets a day, right? 200. That's a lot. Is everything okay up here? We know that Musk does that regularly, But so in all caps, I think he's calling for the federal judge's impeachment. Well, guess what? Oh, the Supreme Court Judge Roberts, who is a big fan of Trump, or has been, actually kind of shut him down. That's your buddy, dude. He said, no, 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 no. That's not what we do. We don't impeach judges because we disagree with their decisions. We don't impeach jurists just because we disagree with their decisions. So that's great. That's your bud saying no. Well, and the okay, what I want to get to is this: the courts are doing what they can. Okay, they're holding off we still have the Constitution in place at this point. But the administration, the executive branch, has proven that they are willing to ignore the courts. Okay, so that takes it to a whole other level. On top of that, we do have two instances of Doge, Doge, whatever, using armed forces to break into federal buildings. There are two instances of that, and when I think the latest took place yesterday, that's some scary stuff. They had FBI agents going with them to break into I think it was the Department of Peace, which is not even actually, it is I guess it's a federal agency, but it's not under the executive branch. It's still independent, and it's independently run, and it is in authority over its own building and the ground upon which it sits. And they had already turned away Doge, apparently, I think on Friday. Well, Doge came back with FBI agents and basically said, we're coming in, and those guys were armed. And the people at the agency actually called the police saying, hey, these guys don't have authority, and they're basically breaking in. And the police ended up coming and ended up, I think, backing up Doge. Now, who is Doge? Like, where's this? How do they have authority like this? And by the way, they went to another agency last week, and I wish I could remember, African Affairs or something, and they had armed people with them, and the people that worked in the agency were like, okay, this is kind of freaky, I guess we'll let them in. They didn't know who the armed people were, anything like that. This is not okay, guys. This is not American. This is not American. All right, so let's stop the bullshit, which means, people, the courts are they're buying us time. They're buying us time to get organized. Congress apparently is moot. They're not coming to save us. There's no cavalry coming. It's up to us, the people. Did you see what happened in Europe this weekend? Hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets. At least 100,000 people in Hungary against Orban, Trump's buddy. Yeah, they're fed up. And you know what? They're getting fuel from us because they're seeing us resist. They're seeing us out on the streets, and they're like, yeah, if it's spreading to America, it's really bad. We're all like, it's worldwide plague at this point, that we got to nip in the bud. In Belgrade, I think they had 300,000 on the streets, or over 300 now. So anyway, 3.5%. We need 3.5% of the American population protesting regularly. That takes a lot. which means everybody's got to sacrifice. If you can't get out on the streets, you need to figure out a way to support the people that do get out on the streets, okay? We've got a little bit of time. The courts are holding things off, but this is coming. The administration has already proven that they are willing to ignore the courts and they are willing to use force, okay, to do illegal things. So we need to do our part. And by the way, getting out on a protest makes you feel good, makes you feel really good, like you're doing something. But if you can't do it, fine, but figure out another way. Um, you could be an organizer. You could be a person that makes sure that that's just there handing out water bottles. We're coming up to the summer. Protesters are going to need support. They're going to need snacks, water. We need to get organized. This is serious. We need to protect our country. We Americans have been living a life of luxury. Even those of us paycheck to paycheck, we're so used to things being ready. We're used to seeing any kind of information we want. We have no idea how much freedom and liberty we enjoy here. We can't take that for granted. It's slipping away from us fast. So, yeah, we're gonna have to make some sacrifices. Okay, we're gonna have to make some sacrifices. Maybe not get our nails done. I mean, I don't know. Whatever you figure out what it is, but there are lots of organizations to contribute to monetarily. But we really need time, and we really need a solid resistance effort. I just wanted to say that, and it will be okay. But we do have to do some work here. There's a lot of mess being made, and it could get really dark. So we need to get strong, and we're gonna make it. But we gotta get strong. Okay? And we got to get involved. And I love you all very much.